Anthony came to a complete standstill. He cautiously peered down and saw something he had never seen before. They were gigantic animal footprints found at the bottom of the riverbank. What animal could, however, have abandoned them? Just as Anthony's initial astonishment subsided, he whirled around after hearing something behind him. However, Anthony was never properly prepared for what he was about to go head-to-head with. The scorching Texas sun blasted down on his neighborhood. The day was among the hottest of the year, with temperatures surpassing all previous records. To keep Anthony cool, Anthony's air conditioner had to work twice as hard. But the heat's side effects stretched further than that. Dallas was currently experiencing a severe drought. The consequences of it would be something Anthony could never have imagined. So Anthony Jones appreciated having air conditioning. His hometown of Dallas was a city he adored. However, he wished it wasn't so hot right now. Droughts frequently result in unforeseen issues that make living a little bit difficult. The water supply was one example. Water reservoirs can occasionally dry up in severe droughts, creating problems for the locals. However, Anthony shouldn't have been concerned about that. Hiking was one activity that Anthony liked more than anything else. He especially enjoyed the numerous hiking paths south of Dallas. He also despised the heat for this reason. Boney hated going on hikes when it was hot outside. He would become more fatigued and dehydrated and needed to wear more revealing clothing than usual. Or his father inspired him to take up hiking. The two would hike on trails near Dallas starting when he was little. His father had always been active and wished to instill it in his child. But unfortunately, his father suffered a heart attack and died at the young age of 50. Anthony realized that living a healthy lifestyle does not ensure a long life. Although Anthony took a long time to come to terms with his father's passing, he decided to continue hiking in his honor. He overcame his troubles with the aid of a therapeutic process. But if he had known what the drought had done to his favorite hiking location, he would have stayed away and never returned. The location he liked best was south of Dallas. It was a stunning sight with a river cutting through it. On either side of the river were trees and hiking routes wound through and around them. So Anthony found it to be the ideal place to meditate and unwind. He had no idea what he would find far into his trail. It would serve as a symbol of the region's dark past. So Anthony chose to do some meditation on his favorite trail one Saturday morning. Everything he needed was packed in his bag. The heat wave compelled him to bring a lot of water, and he also brought a few energy bars in case he became hungry. He was ready to go. He would only need 15 minutes to complete the short drive. Anthony didn't realize, though, that each mile brought him closer to danger. He pulled into the parking lot and walked to the gates. He felt at peace when he had been walking for a while. He was surrounded by nature and the air was clean. He couldn't wait to continue through the trails and arrive at his favorite location. To reach the river, it would take another 20 minutes of walking. However, Anthony was shocked by what he saw when he arrived. When Anthony arrived at the river, he was shocked to see that it had thoroughly dried up. There was hardly any water, and he could access parts of the riverbed, usually at the bottom of the river. Anthony entered the river and started to walk along it. Having a new route to travel down seemed intriguing. However, what he saw next made his blood instantly freeze. Anthony stopped dead in his tracks. He slowly looked down and noticed something that he had never seen in his life. They were footprints left at the bottom of the riverbed by something large. But what animal could have left them? Just as Anthony's initial shock calmed, he heard something behind that made him snap around. But nothing had ever prepared Anthony for what he was about to face. And Anthony snapped around and saw a man standing behind him. He was too well dressed to be a hiker. Now it was clear he could see his confusion and introduced himself. He was a professor at the University of Texas and was just as interested in the footprints as Anthony. Anthony was still confused as ever and asked the professor what had left the footprints. There was a burning question that stabbed at the back of his mind, but he wasn't ready for the answer. The professor told him that it was an Acrocanthosaurus, a dinosaur that inhabited the region over 100 million years ago. Fascinated by this discovery, Anthony was keen to learn more about the large extinct lizard. He asked for more information about the dinosaur and was willing to learn as much as he could. The professor smiled and taught him a few new things that he didn't know before. Anthony learned that the Acrocanthosaurus was an ancient giant. An adult weighed over 7 tons and looked down at many other dinosaurs at 60 feet tall. Uniquely, the Acrocanthosaurus is only made up of one species. The large lizard was a predatory one and would hunt other dinosaurs and other animals to eat, but that didn't explain the prints. The professor also offered up an explanation for the prints being there. Due to the excessive drought conditions this past summer, the river dried up completely in most locations, allowing for more tracks to be uncovered here in the park. Under normal river conditions, these newer tracks are underwater and are commonly filled in with sediment, making them buried and not as visible, he further explained. However, this isn't the first time something like this has happened. A few years ago, a group of photographers in Pinyin village in Guizhou, the southwestern province of China, made an eerie and appalling discovery that took the world by storm. What they found challenged everything science assumed about humanity's past and opened the door to the wildest speculations of our species' history and roots. Now, scientists are questioning everything they thought was a matter of fact. In 2016, 3 American nature photographers who prefer to remain anonymous came across the discovery of their lives while researching the wildlife of the Chinese province of Guizhou. They had heard numerous stories from villagers but never gave them any credit. They thought they were just local legends. But then they found the footprint and everything clicked. When the 3 photographers were assigned that job in Guizhou, the 3 of them felt equally excited about the opportunity. The area was known for hosting a rich plethora of interesting and exotic fauna. But they knew what to look for. Guizhou was a hotspot for gray snub-nosed monkeys and offered the best chance for them to portray their lifestyle, behavior, and social structure. But that wasn't all. They were also expecting to come across other species of monkeys, like the Assamese macaque or the Francois leaf monkey. They also hoped to find some specimens of clouded leopards and sika deers. So when they told villagers about what they were up to, they seemed interested. However, they also told them about something they could have never expected. The villagers told them about a giant creature that walked on 2 feet and was said to roam around the forests, especially at night. They asked if they weren't planning on searching for it. The photographers just answered that they had never heard of anything like that. The villagers encouraged them to go ahead and find it, and the photographers took it as just a country legend. But then, a different possibility crossed their minds. What if the villagers were just trying to mess with them? What if it was all some sort of joke destined to scare them, or even worse, distract them from what they had come to do? But whatever it was, they decided it was best not to listen to those stories. In time, the 3 photographers would find out how wrong and arrogant they were. One day, the 3 photographers were wandering around the forest, trying to get a sight of a community of gray snub-nosed monkeys. At one point, they saw one of them sitting on a branch. As soon as it saw them, it ran away. The 3 photographers ran behind him, trying not to lose sight of the little monkey. After running for a few seconds, they lost it. They were displeased with it, but they were hopeful that they would eventually run into another monkey or a whole community. They walked around for a little while, on the lookout for any possible traces that could lead them to what they were looking for. But suddenly, one of the photographers stopped in front of a rock. With a quivering voice, he called his partners' names. After the 3 of them congregated around the rock to check what had caught the photographer's attention, their jaws instantly dropped. That was like nothing any of them had ever seen before. Immediately, the 3 photographers remembered what the villagers had said about a mythical, mysterious, giant creature that roamed around the forest. But could that be true? What they saw was a giant human-like footprint on a rock in the forest. When they measured it, they couldn't believe it. It was about 23 inches long, 8 inches wide, and 1 inch deep. They took pictures of the footprint and a sample of the rock and sent the latter to one of the geologists who worked for the media outlet that employed them. The response they received from the lab sent a chill down their spines. The footprint dates back to the prehistoric era. At first, the photographers and their partners in the media outlet refused to entertain any wild, freaky hypotheses. Maybe it was just some kind of work of art sorts made by prehistoric humans. But how could they even manage to carve such a realistic yet oversized version of a human footprint? Was that even possible without metal tools? It probably wasn't. Then, what exactly impressed the giant footprint into that rock? Instantly, the 3 photographers thought of those stories about a giant, wandering creature the villagers had mentioned. They thought those would be nothing more than old myths and legends not to be taken seriously. But after doing a little research, they found something unnerving. This wasn't the first instance of researchers finding giant human-like footprints in the wild. Some years before, an archaeologist named Michael Tellinger had seen 2 huge footprints in Africa, which he dated to be around 200 million years old. But what was even more uncanny was the theory Tellinger offered for the cause behind his discovery. Tellinger suggested that those footprints were made by giant humans who used to live on Earth before Homo sapiens. To support his claim, he argued that many ancient cultures have tales and legends of giants as predecessors of humans. Greek, Norse, Germanic, Indian, and Indo-European civilizations believed in tales of this nature, as well as Mayans, Aztecs, and Incas. But that's not all. Tales of giants are also present in almost all major sacred books of antiquity, the Lebar Gabhale, the Hindu Ramayana, and even in the Bible. So there were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bore children to them, the same became the heroes and famous warriors of ancient times, says Genesis. But is there any further proof of that?